After months of waiting, Mojang just released the last major update of the year for Minecraft, Bedrock, and Java, introducing the new Garden Awakens update with a new hostile mob, the Creaking, a brand new biome, new mechanics, farms, and 33 new blocks and items to play with. This is one of the smaller update drops that Mojang is experimenting with, but we still have a ton to cover in this new update. This update also comes with a new cape that leaked a couple of days ago, and it has the Creaking on it. The only way to get this cape is to buy a physical cape from Minecraft.net for $27 starting on December 7th. This cape will likely be coming to Java Edition, and we don't know what it looks like on the Elytra yet. This is also the 6th cape released in 2024, which is a bit wild. I'll keep you guys updated on this once we get more information. The biggest feature of this update is the new Pale Garden biome, which you can find rarely throughout your Minecraft world. Sometimes they are extra small and hard to find, but this is where the majority of the new features are going to be coming from. This truly is a rare biome. You might have to travel a couple thousand blocks to find one, especially if you don't have a brand new Minecraft world. And sometimes the biome is literally just one tree, so have fun with that. You might need to explore a lot. During the day, this is a peaceful and eerie biome. We have the new pale oak tree, which is very similar to a dark oak tree, new pale moss blocks and pale moss carpets, along with a new flower, the eye blossom, and even pale hanging moss. No passive mobs spawn in here, and it's very eerie and peaceful during the daytime with just some eerie ambient sounds. The sky color in this biome also changes to this light gray to add to the ambiance. And you'll notice that there is no music in this biome. It is just the creaking of the trees. But once it becomes nighttime, this biome gets a lot more spooky. So hostile mobs will be able to spawn here. So in this biome, you'll find a new hostile mob, the Creaking. This guy is basically immortal. He doesn't take any damage from the player or the environment, and he also cannot move or attack you when you are looking at him. The design of this guy is honestly incredible, and he looks super cool with those eerie orange eyes. Why are there so many creepers in this biome? Stop it! Try to make a video. There's been 3 of them right here. So when you're looking at this guy, he cannot attack you or do anything at all, but once you look away, then he can actually start to move, and he will come after you. Now, this guy isn't the strongest mob ever. He's not going to one-hit you like the Warden. As you can see, it only does about 1.5 hearts of damage, but he is pretty quick, so if you're planning on running away, you're going to have to run pretty fast. So when you hit this guy, he doesn't take any damage, but he does summon a particle trail right here, and this will lead you to the tree that he's born from, basically. So inside of this tree, you're going to find a creaking heart. Now, every time you attack this guy, as you can see, it's going to spread some resin around the tree that he's linked to, and you're going to have a fun time trying to mine this out to get to that creaking heart without this guy absolutely destroying you. And all the other mobs here as well. Stop it! Don't you dare! Don't even think about it. So this right here is the creaking heart, and if you break this, it's actually going to destroy the creaking. As you can see, he's going to die, and it looks pretty epic. Now, you will need Silk Touch in order to actually collect the creaking heart. Otherwise, it's just going to drop some experience and maybe some resin. Before you remove the creaking heart, make sure that you mine a bunch of this resin. Otherwise, you won't be able to get another heart. And these things are pretty rare, so you don't want to have to find a new biome. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Why is this biome so deadly? The Creaking will automatically despawn as soon as it becomes daytime as well. And the Creaking will not despawn if you just run away from it. It is a persistent mob. The Creaking also can't get into boats, minecarts, or go through nether portals, or really anything convenient, so it's pretty difficult to move in survival. Also, if you want to play with this guy in creative mode, the Creaking from a spawn egg is entirely different than the Creaking that you get from a Creaking heart. They are super different mobs. This guy has like no restrictions or anything. This update gives us 33 new blocks and items to play with. We have 7 new nature items, an entire new wood set with lovely doors and boats, and also the new resin block set with the resin clumps and ingots as well. As you can see, there is a ton of new stuff to build with in this update. It truly is the spooky Halloween update. And we have a new way to trim our armor using resin, which looks really good on netherite. So of course, we have a bunch of new nature blocks, like the new pale oak saplings that you get from mining down the pale oak trees. These have to be grown in a 2x2 to actually grow a tree. just like dark oaks. And then of course in the biome, you're also going to be finding this pale moss and the pale moss carpets. So these act just like regular moss blocks. So if we put one of these down and then bone meal it, it's going to spread to all the regular dirt and stone blocks and convert them over to pale moss. Nothing too special there. We can then bone meal them again and get some more of the moss carpets and all that stuff. Now the moss carpets are a little bit special. So if you put these next to another block, as you see, they're actually going to grow up the edges a little bit, and you can actually trim them down. So normally it's just one layer, and then you can actually bone meal that to go up to a second layer. So it's kind of like wallpaper. It's a little bit neat. Of course, you can't climb up that or anything, but it's just there for decor, and it looks a little bit interesting. We also have the pale hanging moss, which you can find from the pale oak trees. Of course, you can bone meal this to make it longer, or it'll just naturally grow on its own, and you'll need some shears to actually harvest this and get the item. Now, there's also these open and closed eye blossoms, which are a new flower. So they are open during the nighttime, and then they close up during the day. These have a few cool and kind of interesting properties to them. So first of all, both of these flowers make a different dye. The open ones will give you orange dye, which is nice, and then the closed ones actually give you gray dye, which is fantastic. Super easy way to get gray dye without needing ink or wither roses. Now, these eye blossoms will actually close up when it becomes daytime and make some cool noises. As you can see, they're pretty neat. And then, of course, when it comes nighttime, they open up as well. So luckily, these are just like a regular flower. If you plant it on some grass there, you can just bone meal it and get an absolute ton of these things super easily. And of course, if you want to, you can bone meal the ground in this biome and you get some flowers that way too. And fun fact, these flowers are poison for bees. So if they try to pollinate on them, they're going to get poisoned. And if you feed one to them, they're also going to get poisoned as well, as you can see there. Not good. You can also make suspicious stew out of these flowers, and that'll give you blindness and nausea, which is fantastic. Would highly recommend in all of the ways. Isn't that such a good effect? Another cool fact is that all of these wood blocks actually emit the ambient sounds of the pale garden. So if you build with them, you're going to have some creaking sounds around you. So everything else about these wood blocks is basically to be expected. If you know anything else about wood in Minecraft, well, all of that applies to these because it's just another set of wood in the game that you get from this tree. And then we have all of the resin blocks. So we have the block of resin here, resin bricks, and that also gives you the chiseled resin, stairs, slabs, and walls, and all of this stuff is crafted with the base ingredient of the resin clumps that you get from the creaking hearts. So you need to throw these into a furnace and smelt them, and that will give you the resin bricks. And then you can craft these resin bricks into resin bricks, and that is how you can craft all these other things. It's fairly simple crafting from there. Now you can also take 9 of these resin clumps and turn that into a block of resin as well if you want to build with those. And that's a good way of compacting all this stuff because you can uncraft it as well, which is great. Now, if you want to trim your armor with this lovely orange color, of course, you're going to need the resin bricks and a smithing table. So you just put in your armor, your smithing template, and some bricks, and bam, you get yourself some lovely orange. And honestly, it looks really good. Now, the only way to get these resin clumps is via the creaking heart, and there's a lot of mechanics with this thing. So you only get the resin from the creaking heart, so it's important that you collect a few of them before you break this thing. Now, you can craft more of these, but you need the resin from them in the first place to craft more of them. So if you don't have one, you can't really get one. Anyway, once you have a block of resin and a couple of logs, then you can make yourself a new creaking heart, and that's when you can start your first ever creaking resin farm. So these creaking hearts have 2 states to them. One is when they're off like this, and the other is when they are on. So to be on, they need to have a log directly above them and directly below them, but also in the same orientation. As you can see, this one is sideways, so it's not going to be turned on, and if this log were sideways, it also wouldn't work either. They all got to be lined up in a nice little row like that in order for the creaking heart to activate and then be able to summon a creaking at nighttime. So the creaking, of course, doesn't take any environmental damage or player damage or anything like that, but if you can find a way to damage it by like the player attacking it, or a dog, or a projectile, or a trident killer, then of course that's going to activate your creaking heart, and that will spread a little bit of resin, usually 2, maybe 3 resin within a 5x5 diamond of the creaking heart. Now it only spreads to these wood blocks as well, so you can't build something pretty and get a bunch of resin on it. And also there's a cooldown on this as well. They can only spread resin once every 5 seconds, so you can't just spam the guy, otherwise you don't really get anything. As you can see there, it's only every 5 seconds, which is a little bit of a pain. Now this guy is going to stay here basically forever until it turns daytime or you break this heart. You can remove the blocks around this thing and the creaking will still stay alive, but as soon as you break that thing, of course, then he dies. So make sure you keep that in mind when building farms. Also, you can't push the creaking heart or do anything with it redstone wise. It's pretty much just an inert block that summons a guy and then kills him sometimes. So have fun with it. And by the way, when you grow a pale oak tree, you will never get a creaking heart in this. They only generate naturally, or you have to craft them. Now, the Wandering Trader can also sell the Pale Oak Sapling, the Hanging Moss, the Eye Blossoms, and apparently also the Pale Moss block as well. I went through about this many Wandering Traders and only found these 3 things. Never got myself a Pale Moss block, but that's also another good way of getting these materials. I think it would be nice if they could sell a couple of resin clumps as well. That way you could have the chance of actually getting another creaking heart without needing the biome, but here we are. I'll have some very easy resin farm tutorials releasing soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And otherwise, this update also has a ton of great bug fixes that you should probably be aware of. If you play on Bedrock servers or realms, then you're probably familiar with this bug where it's raining all of the time. It never stops raining. But then if you leave the game and rejoin the world, somehow it's magically sunny out. And that's because of a client desync where it would just be raining for you, the client, all the time, but it's actually sunny on the server. That bug has finally been fixed, so you will no longer have permanent rain in your Minecraft worlds. Just the normal, like, 85% of rain. Ignore the broken texture, but after so many years, Vexes have finally been fixed on Bedrock Edition. These guys will now naturally die after 30 seconds to about 2 minutes. Previously, they would live forever and just fly around your world tormenting you. So you no longer need to worry about them building up in your raid farms. You can spam down some boats, that'll catch them all, and you'll be safe. Mojang has changed how slime blocks work on Bedrock Edition. Now, if you hold crouch, you'll stop bouncing and you won't take any damage at all. And holding down the jump button on slime blocks also doesn't do anything anymore. So the proper way to stop all your momentum is to just hold the crouch button, and there's no longer any way to take fall damage on slime blocks. If I told you that striders could spawn in mangrove swamps, would you believe me? Well, for a couple of betas there, they actually could. If you covered up this area with a roof and put down some lava, you would actually get striders and other nether mobs to spawn. It was really silly, and unfortunately, they fixed it before it could get into the full game, so no overworld strider farms for us. But, you know, it's still a thing that existed on Bedrock Edition because Bedrock Edition. So Mojang just did something kind of stupid. Cherry leaves on Bedrock Edition have been broken for the longest time, and they would prevent all saplings from growing underneath them. So if you cut down a cherry tree, you can't grow a sapling underneath it until every single leaf is gone. However, that's been fixed in the latest update, so as you see, all these trees can now grow through the cherry leaves, except for, guess what? Cherry saplings. Yeah, that's right. The one thing that we actually needed to grow through the cherry leaves so we could have a cherry tree farm doesn't work because Bedrock Edition, man. What's even the point? Why even fix the other ones if you're not gonna fix... Doesn't make any sense. This has been in the game since the very first beta with cherry saplings in March of 2023. And that's everything important in the new update. If you like this video, then drop a like, share it around, and subscribe. I'll have a bunch of tutorials releasing soon, so stay tuned, and thank you for watching.